Heal Your Shit is a podcast for anyone curious about why life throws us curveballs. We're all about digging into the connections between mind, body, and soul, but we keep it real. Because, let's be honest, being human can be one wild ride. Once you understand your shit, healing it becomes a whole lot easier.
So, welcome everybody to this episode. Today we're gonna speak a little bit about relationships.
Yes, men, women, together.
Yes.
That's the topic.
And do you see how we juiced up for this episode?
It's like
a bit yummy.
Yeah, we're very yummy today.
Yeah. Why not? Be a little bit playful.
Right, exactly. We're talking about the yummy topic, so we need to look yummy as well.
A little bit uncomfortable, but all right. Yeah.
Out of your comfort zone,
it's
good for you.
I can feel it.
But yeah, so today it's all about relationships. And, because it's a topic that comes back. For example, this is like the main topic right now in my life, we could say. And I feel like many people struggle with getting there because, the dating world is hilarious right now. And there's a group of people who want a relationship, but it's very hard to get there because of how people relate to each other.
Yeah, and I think Laura is the master of this episode, the expert.
I'm the expert. I've been through so many failures that I will share it with you. No, but obviously, I think what's happening, apart from are people who just want a very easy relationship, situationship, or they just want sex. So that's it, the surface. But I think there's a huge amount of people who want something else. And there's a high percentage among these people that don't know really what they want. They think they want a long-term relationship. They think they want to be with someone for the rest of their lives and so on, but they really haven't figured out deeply. And I think that's one of the problems right now, because that's what I see in my dating life. Very intense.
But I mean, going into that and going into relating or relationship is always a beautiful mirror.
Right.
And to see, what kind of tendency do you have? Do you like over too much expectations? Do you get too I don't mean too cling, but you can see like, okay, I have this tendency, and the fallout of a relationship is usually that way or that way.
Yeah. And I think, because you said, am I too clingy? So the thing is, from my perspective, that you cannot be too much for the right person. Obviously, you have your own issues. And if you haven't taken care of your traumas, you haven't done the inner work, that's like to a certain level of, then like a healthy clingy, I would say. Like if you're just like very affectionate, healthy.
Oh,
clingy.
that triggers me actually. That's when I was like, oh, healthy clingy, like get out of my face.
When I think like healthy clingy, what do I mean? Like you want to stay close, you want that closeness, like you want to be like hugging each other. You think about that person every day, and I don't think that's clingy, but for some people it can be, and it also can trigger, just like you said, like your attachment styles. Like, okay, if I'm too much for you, we're probably then not compatible. Like if I'm too much of, I want to stay close, I want to show you my love, I want to show you my emotions. And if that's too much for you, you're going to get avoidant, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Then try to withdraw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so important also to, when we have that maturity, we have that clarity, and we see that. Like if I get into a relationship or relating, that I can actually challenge my avoidant patterns and choose to stay and to step in and burn in that fire of, this feels too much, but I still stay. But can I caretake whatever's going on in me?
Sorry, it was just there was a light that.
Yeah, light is on.
Yeah, but exactly. Sorry for disrupting it, but. Exactly. Can I stay with it? Because we can be uncomfortable with some things, and we're gonna, relationships. That's how you said it. Like we're mirrors to each other. There's gonna be some shit that's gonna resurface. But even if I'm uncomfortable, but I care and I want to be with you, then I'm gonna try to overcome this and try to be there with you and maybe tell you, well, listen, maybe calling each other every day, that's a little bit too much for me because I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on me, but I really, really want to be with you. So can we find ways of how we check in with each other so you don't feel overwhelmed and I feel like not anxious? Because that would, for me, for example, if I don't know where I'm standing with you, I'm going to get a little bit anxious.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also about the timing. Say that you have avoidant attachment style. Maybe a first relationship for you that would be good would be a long distance relationship.
Oh.
That might suit your needs. And that might, if that suits the other person's needs as well, like beautiful.
Yeah, or that might also be challenging because if you get text every day and you're like, ooh, too much, girl.
Exactly.
So obviously it's about balancing it, but also like about realizing. So, like, oh, normally I get back into my shell and I am this avoidant kind of guy.
Yes.
Where I know like, oh, if I don't know where I'm going with this, I'm going to get a little bit anxious. I'm going to overthink and I'm going to be afraid that you're like, you're not sincere with me. And, like I need that clarity. So I think the recipe for that would be clear with the other person. So tell them like, listen, this makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. This makes me anxious. I feel a little bit like too much in my head. Right now I'm like having 10,000 movies about what's happening with you. Could you give me at least that comfort of like, it's okay. Everything's fine. Like we're still here. We're going in the same direction because I think the communication is the base.
Yes. When I was younger, even though I didn't see my attachment styles, it showed quite clearly to me. I mean, I wanted a secure relationship, and I remember like being in a relationship where I was more the avoidant. So I was like, it's too much. I want to take a step back. I want to be by myself. And then I broke up, and then I went in a new relationship, and then she was a lot of distance and didn't like the closeness, and I started to feel anxious. So I actually had, experienced the other side of the coin, of like not knowing, and then I saw some sides of myself that I wasn't too proud of, like the martyrdom. So I had to, work with that. And so it's, if we choose to stay open and to see the lessons, it can be such a learning experience.
Right. And it can change, it will fluctuate. Like, as you said, you were reading this book about attachment styles, right? Yeah. It's called Attached. Haha. Ta-da. I don't know if you can see it. But anyhow, so we just spoke about it, that there's this secure attachment. I believe that nobody is fully like safe or secure in their attachments. Like, I don't know a person who never gets overthinking, who never gets wants to avoid something. Like, there's always this coming up, and you can go either that way and step back, or you can go like be a little bit, in front and up front, and you want to know, otherwise you're gonna be anxious and you're gonna spiral into that.
Yeah, we haven't read that whole book, but sometimes the literature can be a bit oversimplified, that either you're secure attachment or you have an anxious attachment, so you worry a lot and you overthink, or you have this avoidant where you tend to withdraw, or you have a combination of anxious and withdrawal. And I think, depending on maybe the traumas or the attachment breaches that has happened to us, it can be quite specific in some instances, and some other things, we're secure in one area, and then something comes up and we feel anxious, and it reminds us about something that happened when we were small or children.
And that can happen always. You can be in a relationship for many years, but let's say that person does the inner work. Yeah. Something comes up and you suddenly become anxious about something, or suddenly you feel like, oh, I have to take a step back.
And at the same relationship, you can sometimes feel anxious, and sometimes you feel avoidant, and sometimes it's secure. So it's such a multi-layered thing to dive into.
Yeah, and that's one of part of why relationships are difficult. But I think that one of the biggest is like the communication. So people don't want to communicate. And like, for example, in my dating experience, I'm trying to be as clear as possible. This is what I want. This is what I can give. And, this is what I expect. And like, sometimes I feel that people don't have that figured out. So then they become very, the communication about it becomes difficult. So like before you sign up to a dating app or try to date people in search of love, because I think that's most of people who search for a long term, they're in search of love, obviously, right? So they want loving relationship, right? Yeah. So before you go there, I think the first thing you should ask yourself and like question, what do I want? Do I really want a long-term relationship? Do I have space in my life for that right now? What can I give and what I expect from the other person? What is my intention? And have I done the work to be a partner, like to be present in a relationship? Because, you can have a great idea of wanting a long-term relationship, wanting a family.
Yes.
And then you are not so ready because your life is not figured out for a long-term relationship. You have other priorities. And you didn't do the work, the inner work. So, I mean, like, you're stuck in your people pleasing, you're stuck in your trauma, and you cannot meet the other person at the same level. Right?
No. And I mean, that both takes maturity and guts, because otherwise we always go into subtle means of manipulation.
Yeah.
Of either like, manipulate because I want this out of you, or I gaslight you, or I project, or say it's all your fault that I'm this way, so it's all these twists and turns that we need to be a bit humble about.
And also the other aspect of it, and we spoke about it before, is like, I feel we can meet people at different levels. So there's attraction, obviously, and there's sexual attraction, and that's like the most basic one. We get attracted, we want to be close, we want to have sex, we want to kiss. Okay, that's one part. Procreation. Make babies. No, not everyone wants to make babies. And then there's the second level, which is like the mind level. I feel like where we connect, we can talk about stuff.
We understand each other.
Right. And we feel like inspired by each other and interesting. Like, you're an interesting person. I feel you can teach me something, like in that way. So there's this one part. And that can happen, that can happen a lot with a lot of people when you're open, right?
Yes.
And I feel like I'm always curious about the other person. I'm always like, I'm interested in you. And like, if we can have a nice conversation, I'm interested into you, because everyone can teach me something. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's this second level. And okay, let's say we have sexual attraction in mind. Okay, that's great. But there's also emotional attraction. And that's like, can my needs be met with you? Can I meet your needs, right?
And feel safe.
And feel safe around you, and feel safe into expressing my emotions. And I had this talk recently with one of my friends, and we were talking about like how it went for her and her husband. And she said that they said, I love you to each other after 6 months. And, she was hesitant about starting that, because she was like, what if she doesn't say it? He doesn't say it back. What if, it requires a lot of guts to actually emotionally feel safe, and also communicate that there's more into this relationship, that I feel the love and connection, and also being ready to get a rejection. That's another topic.
Yeah. And because really scrutinize yourself. Why do you want to be in a relationship? Because if you just want to be in a relationship, just feel safe. Because, what happens is 10 years down the line, you start, things start to simmer up or get triggered. And then it's like, really, okay, I don't feel safe in this relationship anymore because I feel triggered. But that's also an opportunity for you to go through and work with yourself. And you can work in the relationship, or you can break up and do the work outside the relationship.
Right.
Or you can break up and don't do the work. But
stay the same forever.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one more level that I feel like it's very hard to find. And I talked about it. It's a spiritual level. So like, what's your journey in this life? Can you connect on that higher level? Are we aligned there? Can we be partners in that and support each other? So it's not just emotional safety, but also like there's a high purpose for each life, and can we really align in that and understand each other in that?
So it's like really channels on your TV sets, and see, okay, we're connected on 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 is just missing.
And I'm just wondering, do you really need to be connected on every single level? That's like, obviously, I think sexual level is important, especially in the beginning, because if you don't have that physical attraction, it might be hard unless you have all the other aspects connected. So there must be some kind of like pull, towards that person where you feel like, oh, they're attractive. And like mind level is important, but you can have that mind connection with anybody. But obviously you need to be able to talk with your partner, to have interesting conversations, because your mind needs that as well to be like, triggered.
Yeah, because it's like, then there's a journey there. There's an evolution.
Right.
There's not
potential.
It's like, it's not just like I'm holding on to you and I project all my thoughts and feelings upon you.
No.
But I don't really tune into you. Can I be really interested on, like, who are you? What's showing up now?
Right.
To have that curiosity, like, we really don't know. You're a new human being every day, but even though you have your patterns, like, what's happening to you emotionally, mentally, physically, what's going on with you? And often we're just so busy in our lives, we just don't have time. We just run around like...
quantity, not quality.
Exactly.
which is never gonna lead to deep connections. I feel like if you really want to have a deep connection with somebody, you have to dedicate your time. You need to make that space in your life to be there for the other person and be able to show up. I mean, how do you want to build, for example, a family if you don't show up, if you're not there? Like,
and that's also what requires our work. Because if we haven't done some shadow work, we're just gonna find like it's gonna trigger some parts of us that's just gonna make us feel questioned. We're just gonna feel too small, and then we have to find ways to either fight, flight,
or escape,
or just get out of there. Or I
think especially when the other person reflects that in the mirror, and you see that you don't want to feel that, you don't want to feel ugly, like on a spiritual level or like emotional level, you don't want to feel the shadow part. But we all do have shadows, and that's another aspect that many times when people try to build relationships, gratefulness for having somebody who's holding the mirror and saying like, look, that's what's happening, isn't it? Reflecting, because that's like such a lesson.
And that requires a lot of maturity also.
And that's the problem.
Exactly, because that is also the burning, and that's the burning that's needed. The fire of transformation, to see like, oh, I can see clearly when you reflect back on me. I can see why I wounded you, or what,
or why I tried to avoid.
Whatever my patterns are, or why I got so angry, or more like owning my own emotions.
Yeah. But if we don't do that work, then we start to defend ourselves. We start to push away that person and be like, nah, this is too much. This is too much work. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, and really notice within yourself, like in a conflict, if the energy rises to like up here, then it's like a protective part.
Yeah, you want to
and then it's, the energy is all in the front side of the body. And especially if you're having conflict and you're sitting opposite each other, it could be really confrontative and hard to get out of.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's good to just sit side by side.
Or walk together.
Yeah, walk together, or sit like back to back, like talk, because it's not so...
You're not in a confrontation. And that's another thing that people need to understand. When you're building a relationship or want to be with somebody, it's not about like, oh, I know better than you. It's like, I'm showing you my perspective. This is what I see and feel from you. Please show me yours. Let's see how we can figure this out together. And so we're doing it by side, as you said, and not like, I'm trying to tell you that you're doing it wrong. No, absolutely. if you have that kind of attitude towards a partner, potential partner, or whatever, then you need to do the inner work, like, because it's not there. Like, think about yourself, like, saying you all the time also while you're building a relationship, there's something wrong there, right? I feel that something is up, but it's not you.
And it could also be like a person who's always second guessing, always going into the mind, and like, maybe I did this wrong, and this whole anxious relating.
Right. And I can relate to that, because whenever I feel like this is not safe, or I'm not sure, that person is not showing me what exactly they want from me, and then I get anxious. I get easily anxious and feeling like overthinking. It's like, did I do something wrong? But there's always one solution for that. You communicate.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, listen, that I feel anxious about this, or listen, this is, I don't know what to do with this. Like, what do you mean? What do you feel? Right? Because I don't know that.
Yeah, seeing like those emotions as stoplights. There's something here that contains a message, and how can I navigate in that so it just not stays in the never-ending loop of self-doubt, but actually moves into something else, like okay, this is my experience, this is how I feel, what do you feel, what's your thoughts? And then we also get a receipt, like, how am I being met in my needs? Or is my needs just deflected all the time? Like, okay, that's your problem, or that's because like something's wrong with you, or whatever. And that's a red flag.
That's gaslighting.
Yeah.
So you also need to see, especially in the beginning of dating, before we decide this is my person, or I'm gonna try to build something with you. You need to kind of observe: is there already in the very initial stage, are there any red flags, so to say? Like, is this happening already at that stage? If it is, you don't want to get further, because this is gonna just become more intense, right?
Yeah.
So I think that those things, like how the people are with their communication. Are they expressing their feelings? Are they expressing what they need and what they can give you? Are they doing things for you? That's especially for a woman. Like, if I see a guy who's talking a lot, and I've experienced a lot, talkers, blah, 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 blah. We're going to do this. We're going to have so much fun. Oh, it would be great to buy this house together. Oh, don't worry about your wedding dress. I mean, do you see any ring? No. So, so I'm just saying, like, when I see that, that's for me such a red flag. And we have to cut through this bullshit. And, for men, don't say it when you don't mean it. Just a tip. Don't say it. Because we women like to hear things like, oh, you're beautiful, you're exceptional, like, I'm loving the time with you. Beautiful. Yeah, great. But, like, if that has a basis, like, if you really mean it, then say it. But don't say it if you don't mean it. So that's one thing I'm taking from my dating life. Like, there has to be a meaning to it. There has to be, like, some kind of, like, if you say things, like, if I say things to you, like, I enjoy spending time with you, that's true from my heart. If somebody tells me I'm too busy, I'm feeling like, listen, nobody's too busy. Nobody's too busy if they have the priorities or they have an intention and so on. So, like, being also truthful towards the other person, I think that's such a big thing. And people are so afraid, or not there, or, like, afraid of hurting somebody.
Yeah.
No, it's better you say, like, listen, at this stage of my life, I don't have space for it, or I don't have enough to give at this moment, because I need to focus on myself.
Or this is what I can give, and this is what I can't give. Or,
are you okay with it?
Yeah.
You're not okay? Okay, that's fine. Then we just go court.
And at the same time, there needs to be a communication that works. So there's a giver and a receiver. So we need to be able to express ourselves and feel met. And then, so it's this dance, because if the dance isn't there, we're just left by ourselves.
Exactly. And that's about feeling. And also, like we talked about in the other episode about letting go, the seasonality of things. And when you're searching for the partner for you to spend your life with, there's a lot of letting go. Like, you have to let go a lot. because there are going to be people who are not going to be there on the same level of awareness or on the same path or in the same season of their life even.
Yeah.
And you will have to say goodbye despite the feeling of he's my soulmate or she's my twin flame or we're so connected or I want this guy to be my husband. Like, even if these thoughts come, and they can come, or like this is like fate and so on, you have to be ready to let that go, because what's important is to meet on these levels and feel like I have a partner to work with and we can, walk through life. Oh my God. Walk through life. That was the most funny thing. Thank you for special effects, Riverside. Yeah, so we can walk through life together, and we don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to have untangled your old trauma.
But that's what I mean also, and to see our own if we get too entangled in our own concepts and what we want, maybe meet somebody and there's a blooming friendship, but that person may not be the partner, that you're looking for. So it's another gift that's contained there. But we have a tendency to sort of push that into the form that we want.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, that's what happened to me pretty recently. And I've been on a very nice date, and I really appreciate the person on the other side. And I felt like, wow. And what I've heard and what I saw was really like promising and beautiful. And I feel like when men are in their masculine, I'm very impressed, because that's very hard these days to be in feminine and masculine. But, like, I appreciate that person so much. And I felt like, oh, thankful for being transparent, great in communication and so on. But I didn't feel the connection on a physical level, or just not drawn in that way. And I just communicated that I'm so sorry, but I don't feel the same way that you do. And I feel that honesty is releasing, because that person, and I felt bad because obviously I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, It's not nice. But I felt like, okay, I just have to be honest with you, and I cannot go into this without me feeling that this is right.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, we have different learnings, different times in our lives,
right,
as well. Sometimes we need to like back off. It's like, this is not for me. And sometimes it's like, for me, I have that tendency. So then my learning is to actually dare to step into something and experience something in the physical. And that's a gift,
Yeah. And it's good to get out there and try it. I think that requires, courage.
Yeah.
And also like serving yourself in all these situations, like when you meet new people, when you connect and so on. Like, I have this observation of myself that I'm kind of a person all in or nothing.
Yeah.
And it's natural for me. I just go all in, but I feel like that can be sometimes overwhelming. So I don't want to do that, because I also want to see people as they are, experience them, get to know each other, because it might be that you go all in.
Yeah.
You don't know what's there, really.
Because there needs to be a little space as well for something to grow in.
Exactly. So based on that observation, I just decided, okay, it's not like I'm going to change my DNA, but I'm going to try to take that step back and observe and see, like, oh, are we going to be there together at the same level, like to meet our needs? Are you giving in the same way that I'm giving? Are you giving me attention? Do you have space like I have space? Or I don't have space, but I make space for people who matter, So can you do that as well? And all these things that are important for me as values and the relationship, I'm like now observing, and it's very empowering.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel empowered, but I had to go through some, pain to understand that.
Because that's also where it comes into the relationship styles. Like, if you're avoidant, I have I think my main strategies or theme is avoidant, and then it's actually empowering for me to consciously go and say yes to something and experience something.
Right.
But if you're anxious, maybe, okay, or maybe you feel like you're too clingy, maybe then at some point, okay, I want to try to actually take a step back, and how does that feel? And
Right.
how can I learn to regulate and self-soothe, So it's all of these different learning processes. And if we can see relationship and relating as mini schools of that, that's a good view, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're starting a relationship, you need to see and observe. I think the observation is so important. I don't do that. I'm half Italian. I do things with my heart, but now I started to learn this and like observe what's the energy that they put in and because you want to reflect that energy. You don't want to put more than that. You want to be balanced in that way. So if I see that I'm over giving, over communicating, over everything, like I can give you the world because I see the potential in this, then it may be a little alarm in the back of my head saying like, okay, let's see, take a step back and observe, is that person doing the same? And if it's not, you really need to take that step back for yourself, for your own sanity, for your own heart,
Yeah, because it's so easy that you like pour too much energy, and
especially for women.
Exactly. Or like, whoa, it's getting too much. I need to withdraw. Instead, like, okay, I need to take a step in and actually feel that I can be here in that energy tsunami coming towards me. And then at the same time, okay, maybe I need to clarify or set some boundaries or express my needs or whatever, because then that actually can construct a safety.
Right.
Instead of, okay, it's too much, so I withdraw, and then I withdraw, and then I withdraw. But then there's no relationship left.
No, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
Especially on the other side, because if you withdraw,
yeah,
I'm gonna say like, then I also withdraw, or like
exactly.
I'm gonna be super anxious with
and
you.
then I start chasing.
Okay, that's not the topic.
Like, oh my god.
That's something I also learned. Don't chase people that don't give you the time and the energy, like especially for women, because men, maybe they have this chasing in their DNA, you need to get that meat, that animal. But like for a woman, I'm like, no, never chase, because men who wants you, they're gonna make space and time and put in energy, and you're just opening up to the men, right? So if I start to chase you as a woman, you're not gonna want me either. No. There's gonna be like, okay, what's happening here?
I heard somewhere like the man being the initiator, like then that meaning I can express something or I can make a move, and then I listen. Then I stop and listen. Because a lot of men just like also go, but then there's no listening. There's no dance. So it's like, okay, I'll make this move, and then I'll see, okay, I didn't get a response, so okay, I'll just back off.
But with that, there's I follow Matthew Hussey. He's like super coach of dating and so on, and I always get some interesting insights. And he says like, it's not that women that initiate. I can give you like little like a touch and like or say like, isn't this interesting? When you can start a conversation, it's not like I'm chasing after you or I'm like hitting on you, but give you like permission to approach me.
Ah, that's beautiful.
I love that.
It's
and
like opening a door.
Like, this door is open.
Yeah.
I can commit. And I do that with people also, like, it's not about relationships, but I invite people in that way. Like when I feel like, for example, I was sitting with somebody in a train, and he asked me if he can sit, and I took off my headphones, normally listen to music, and I was like, yeah, of course, please sit. And then we had a conversation, because I gave him a sign that I'm taking off my headphones. Like, I'm ready to have a conversation with you, because it feels nice. Like, you felt like a very nice person asking me if you can sit here. So giving the signals, that's okay. That's that's needed, because some men might jump into it and then they're like, okay, I don't know if she wants it even.
Yeah, exactly. But if we don't go into that subtleties, then we're just going to stumble into each other.
Right.
It's like, can I sit there? Can I like be too much?
No.
Or, this, some people call it mansplaining, like just men that's talking and not listening. And I mean, that goes both ways.
Right.
So am I in actually contact with my body, or is it just like mind going wild?
Blablaing.
Also like babbling away because I'm anxious or nervous or whatever. Okay, maybe I need to slow down and
Right.
feel
Yeah.
and tune to myself and to you. Also.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's important that we give each other those subtle ways of like communication, like even like as easy as touching your elbow. It can be, because then you're like, it's the same like with the kissing. Like I don't kiss on the first date, not anymore. Announcement. I'm oversharing. But it's, if I felt like doing it, I would give you a certain, like my facial expression, my body language. I would give you those subtle ways of letting you know, like it's okay for you to step in and be close with me.
Oh, that feels like I can feel it in my body.
You
That's
can?
beautiful.
Oh
That's
my
yummy. That's yummy.
Yeah. I went on a date. Okay, I didn't feel this. And I was like, okay, we can give each other a hug. And I felt this, like, I'm not inviting you here, But when I feel like, oh, this feels good, I'm going to let you know.
And I love that, also as a man, to feel those openings in the body.
Right.
Feel like, oh, that feels yummy. And it doesn't mean like I have to throw myself over somebody to kiss them, but it's like, oh, I actually feel the vibration of that.
Right.
And it's
really sweet.
Yeah, it's a sweetness. I love that.
Yeah. I think in that way, it's good also, like when you have this really beautiful flow with somebody and you feel attracted, you feel that it's okay to kiss on the first date. I just say, like, I don't do that because I want to observe how everything is going. Yeah. And do I feel like letting you in? Because maybe I don't, and why would I? I was on one date where the guy asked me, can I kiss you? And I was like, I don't know what to say to that, because I didn't give you any signs for my body. Like, I want to kiss you, And he was like, can I kiss you? And I'm like, frozen. Weird,
Yeah.
Unless, I'm close to you and my head is like that, and like just trying to send you those signals that it's fine, And then you ask me in a playful way, that's a different story. But if we're standing against each other, when you ask me if you can kiss me, I'm like, weird. You're not reading me really, right?
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. And I mean, also when you are in a relationship, to actually be interested and curious about each other, and how is our dynamic, and how do we talk to each other, and how do we talk about talking to each other? Is there something that I feel like, okay, I need to express this, or this is hard for me I don't feel listened to when it comes to this, or heard, or so I have this need, and then I need that acknowledgement through my partner to go deeper and try to find new ways of navigating.
Yeah, but also that requires that you communicate your needs. And I think people always are so afraid of doing that, because like, what if it's not going to be met? What if they say no to that? It's like, for example, I actually exercise it. I exercise it and I say like, oh, I need a hug. Would you give it to me? Like, I feel like, can you give me a hug?
I'm like, okay, yep.
And a hug is not like you can do that with a friend or so on. So it's nothing, like you're not asking for much, but also exercising with those small things like, oh, I feel like I'm getting sick. Would you be able to do this for me? Or would you make me a cup of tea, because I feel like really, those small things.
Yeah, and as a man, like I just feel could do that.
Yeah, and I think when you also step into the feminine and masculine, when a woman asks you, like, because we are so used to doing now, we women, but it's nice to rely on the men in that way. And I saw this video that was really funny. There was this couple, they're married, very sweet couple, and they make those reels. And he's Italian and she's American, and she was sick. And she made for herself tea, and she was like, having some cookies or something. And he came into her office and said, honey, but what did you do? And she was like, yeah, I made myself tea because I'm not feeling well. Why didn't you ask me? I want to do that for you. And, he was like so disappointed in a way. And it was so sweet to see that he really wanted to.
I think that's so natural as a man. Like, I want to do that. Right. I want to be of use.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like it's so beautiful. So like also maybe it's a good tip for women to feel into that. Like you don't have to be the doer. Actually, it's beautiful if you give a man space and like this softness, and you listen to the man and be there for him, and in other ways, like give affection and so on. So that's what I feel like men need in a way. Maybe I don't know if I'm wrong, but
Yes.
it's that, and then the man can step into their masculine and do something for you and be of use, as you said, and be like this, feel like I'm the strong, the rock, like like this bear energy, like
Exactly, and that's so nourishing for me as a man. But then also as a man to dare to express the vulnerability.
that's
Because otherwise it just turns into exhausting pleasing. Right?
no, that's not the point.
No, exactly.
So like, so if you're able to do that, but as well in that relationship, you are able to express to me like, I feel shitty today. Like, I'm having a rough day, or I feel like I didn't perform at work enough, or my boss is and like you can show that vulnerable part of yourself where you're not at your best. That's where the connection can be really strong.
I think it can deepen. A lot,
right? Yeah, because if you're like, you're always doing, but it's like,
in the
you're
end,
not feel safe with me.
No, in the end, you're just gonna feel like if I don't do, I'm worthless, and a lot of men are stuck in that.
And the people pleasing.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Don't do that.
No, don't do that.
I mean, it is trauma response, the people pleasing. And if you do the people pleasing, it's because you think that you need to do something in order to be loved, appreciated, seen, important, and worthy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of self-worth in that. So if you do that in your everyday life, try to reflect on that. That's a trauma response. You're trying to please. You're never going to be happy in that. You're going to be stuck in making other people happy. And if you don't, you have to say no, or you cannot fulfill expectations. You're going to feel like shit, worthless shit. That's the pattern, And I think that's very important to understand that in relationships, I'm not going to please you all the time. Sometimes you're going to please me. I'm going to please you in a way. Right? However that sounds. But, and like it's a constant flow, but it's not like one person is giving and the other one receiving, because that's not the point.
No, because otherwise you're always, as a man, being in this, when can she be satisfied? And that just never ends.
Yeah, like it's good to be satisfied, but let's not exaggerate.
No, or like you're always looking for safety in the relationship. And it's like, well, is this the meaning of a relationship? Is this what we're both looking for?
Yeah. So look into that. Look into your patterns. Ask yourself basically what you want, what you can give, what's the point. And I had this case where somebody wanted a family, but I don't think their values were aligned. Like the values were like, exploring and being a lot with friends and doing stuff and being active all the time. And I don't think that aligns as much. So like, are those needs or wishes yours, first of all? Because that can be a family member that tells you have to give me grandkids, or that can be society that tells you that. It can be anything.
You can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk?
Exactly. So like, realize, what do I want? What's aligned with me, with my heart? Do I want a partner that's a friend? Do I want a partner that's going to explore with me? Do I want a partner to have kids with?
Yeah.
What's your goal? And then you can, when you have this understanding of yourself, then you can go and date people and meet people, and try to also not go on date with expectations or like preset things like I'm going to ask them these 10 questions if they don't answer. That's it. No, feel into people. Feel how do I feel with you on that date? Does it make me feel good? Am I relaxed? Am I like feeling really nice? Or,
playful, maybe.
Yeah, like, are we joking? Or is it like, I feel that you're stressed and I'm getting stressed? What's the feeling? So feel into people. Don't come with expectations. And hopefully, if the other person is as done the work as you, then if you can guys meet in the middle and I can create something at some point. So that's my tip. based on my life.
Word.
But if you want to add something to that, I'll be more than happy to listen.
I think we're about to
Hit the wall.
hit the wall here. We're at the end of the conversation, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of
insights, I think.
insight.
But it's very interesting. So I'm going to watch it again so I redo the lesson.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck with dating. Good luck with finding the partner that aligns with you. And good luck.
And don't forget connecting to your own heart
Yeah.
and to your own truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
And subscribe to the channel.
Like us.
Like the button.
you. And share us.
Share with
Oh my God.
Ta-da!
You're Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.